Fruhling, aka Cozy Azeroth here. I am working my way through an old programming book, 101 Programming Tips and Tricks for the Texas Instruments TI-99 4A home computer. I am up to program number 62, which is Random Sampler. And I'm working my way through all 101 programs. And what I'm going to do is read the program description. We're going to get into the Classic 99 emulator, which emulates a TI-99 4A on a modern computer. Type the program into TI Basic, run it, see what we can learn from it, and see what we can make it do. Okay, program number 62 is Random Sampler. This program strengthens your confidence in the random number generator built into your computer. It generates 100 numbers between 0 and 100 and tells you how many of those are above 49 and how many are below 50. See the sample run for several sets of results in our recent tests. Let's go down and look at the sample run. So you can see we're going to, every time we run it, it looks like we're going to get a different mix of yeses and nos out of 100 tries, and we'll see what mix we get here. We'll see if ours is similar to the, and you know, in theory, you could get 100 in a 100 in a row that are all yes or all no, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, let's get into TI Basic. In our Classic 99 emulator, a great emulator for the TI-99 4A, highly recommended if you're interested in the TI-99. Okay, 10, randomize. This ensures we get a new run every time. Okay, 20, call clear. Okay, 30 for L equals 1 to 100. 40, x equals integer of 101 times r in d. Oops. There we go. Sorry about that extra space there. Used to programming in modern programming languages where you tend to put a space between the operands and the operator. Okay, 50. If x is less than 50, then 70. If x is less than 50, then 70. Let's see, we've got 60 go to 80. Okay, 70, y equals y plus 1. 80, if x is greater than 49, x is greater than 49, then 100. 90, go to 110. 100, n equals n plus 1. 110, next L. $120, print Y. And semicolon, space yes. 130, print in. Semicolon, oops, quote space no. 140 for b equals 1 to 11. $150, print. 160, next b. 170. N equals 0 and 180 is y equals 0. This just resets the values for the next go around. 180, y equals 0. And 190, go to 30. Okay, I'm going to clear the screen, list out the program before we run them, look for any obvious typos, math errors, syntax errors, so on and so forth. At a glance, it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and give it a run. Okay, 47 and 53, let's get a screenshot of that. 49 and 51. 44 and 56. Curious what the biggest spread is going to be. Oh, 59 and 41. That's quite a spread there. You know, if we run this enough, eventually we'll get 100 yeses and 0 nos. You know, that would be unusual, but could happen. 43 and 57. You know, on the whole, we're going to veer, you know, in the long run, we're going to average towards 50-50, but in the short run, you never know what you're going to get. I'm curious if we get a really wide spread here. There's one that's wider, 61 and 39. Oh, 50 yes, 50 no on the money. 40 and 60. 53 and 47. It's kind of funny. You just let this run forever. $47, $53. $49 and $51. Pretty close. You know, most of them are going to be close to 50-50. I'm looking for a total outlier. There must be one eventually, right? Another 53, 47. $51 and $49. It would be interesting if we get a, you know, one like 10 and 90 or something. I'm going to hold out for a minute and see if we get a really wide spread here. I like that this program, you don't have to hit anything for the next round to go. That's a nice touch on this one. Unlike most of the other programs so far in this book where you have to hit a key to move forward and do another round. I'm sitting here with my fingers on the keyboard waiting to take a screenshot if I get a real wackadoodle one. Yeah, there's nothing that guarantees they have to stay within a certain range. You know, every roll of the dice, so to speak, is a new attempt. So in theory, you can get one, you know, a real outlier, but it hasn't happened so far yet. I think we had 61 and 39, right on the money there, 50-50. If you're just watching on Twitch, hello. But there's this little TI basic program that generates 100 random numbers, and then you get a little count how many of those between 0 and 100. And how many are, you know, above and below 50. In other words, yes and no. That's kind of an outlier. Let's get a screenshot of that one. Not the biggest outlier we've had. It's not very interesting in itself, but it's kind of fun to see how long we have to wait to get a really wide spread, like, you know, 10 yeses and 90 nos. I'm working my way through 101 programming tips and tricks for the Texas Instruments TI-99 4A home computer, an old programming book I had when I was a kid. And I've been typing them one by one into the Classic 99 emulator, which emulates a TI-99 4A on a modern PC, having a lot of fun just typing in these old basic programs. Oh, there's one on the money. See, here's the program here, right here. And this is what's running right now. Kind of holding out to see if there's we get a big spread of a large number of yeses or a large number of nos. Right in, hello. Oh, LMS, I don't know how to pronounce it, Merguia. Hello, thanks for joining. How are you today? I got up early this morning, had a couple of reserved Uber rides. I'm doing some Uber driving for extra money right now, and did that for 3 or 4 hours. Oh, yeah, definitely. It won't all fit on one screen, but you can see the bulk of it. So we've got a randomized statement, a call clear statement that clears the screen. 40 is basically a random number generator that you know, generates a number between 0 and 100. We got a couple of if-then statements. If it's less than 50, then go to line 70. 60 just jumps ahead to line 80. If it's greater than 49, then go to line 100. Do a little math, and then we print yes and no depending on which numbers were generated, and then we just have a little for next loop to generate 11 lines of empty lines that bumps the whole thing up towards the center of the screen. Pretty straightforward. It's a great little program. This whole book is great, actually. It's I used to have this book when I was a little kid, and I would blank lines. Yeah, exactly. Print 11 times. I would pour over this book at school, and when I should have been doing other things, go home and type these programs into my actual TI-99 4A, which I have. I actually have it on the shelf over there, but it's easier to do these streams on an emulator. But I do still spend a lot of time dinking around with an actual TI-99 4A. Are you familiar with the system? Are you my age or older and had one of these, or is this first time you're seeing this old computer system? I can show you the actual coding environment here in a second if you're not familiar with it. I'm just kind of hoping that we get an interesting spread of numbers here. So far, they're all kind of veering towards 50-50, but yeah, see, just like that. It's a way of kind of testing the random number generator in the machine. Since it doesn't really matter, let me go ahead and break the program. Oh, thank you for following. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if anyone would be interested in these old programming environments or not. Okay, let's clear the screen first, and I'll list out the program here in the computer. Let's see if it all fits on one screen. Oh yeah, there you go. So that's the entire program written out in TI Basic in the emulator. I try to be careful about typing in exactly as written in the book, just for posterity. We'll type run, we'll give it a run. Takes a second. It's doing all the tabulation. It's not a compiled basic language, it's interpreted, and so it's actually a really slow interpreter. It's a slow version of basic, but it's great because you don't have to use a ton of artificial stuff to slow a game down to make it playable. So the games that run in TI Basic tend to be a little slow, but I think that's a good thing. A lot of people think it's a bad thing. Remember coding for the TRS-80. When I was in kindergarten, which would have been about 1983, my kindergarten classroom still had a TRS-80 in the classroom. I think it was a TRS-80 Model 3, if memory serves. And then by the time I got to first grade, from first grade through sixth grade, we had Apple IIs in the classroom. But at home, I had a TI-99 4A. That's what my dad had bought when I was a little kid. And we also briefly, a couple years later, we had an Epson QX10 that was using CP/M as the operating system. That was a great little computer as well. I fondly remember that computer. But I spent hours and hours and hours and hours on the Texas Instruments TI-99 4A. I know this is a little tedious, waiting for an interesting number spread here. I'm just waiting to see, do we get a big number spread, like 15 yeses and 85 nos, that kind of thing. If we get one, I'm going to screenshot it, and then probably, I don't have a ton of time today. We have some company coming over in a little bit. I might end the stream in a little bit and then start a new one and do the next program. I'm working my way through all 101 programs in this book. The next one being random numbers 0 to 9. And it's a great little book. They're short little code snippets. These aren't really designed to be sort of complete interesting programs on their own. They're designed to be sort of techniques or code snippets or tips and tricks that you can use as part of larger programs. So this is not well fleshed out long programs. These are short little type-in programs. I like the TRS-80 a lot. The prices are really high on all the vintage equipment right now. If you're looking to get into retro computing, you can't go wrong with the TI-99 4A. They made so many of them that they're actually really cheap. Even to this day, they're actually really cheap. But if you want to acquire a TRS-80, they're really expensive in good working condition. I mean, thousands of dollars. So that's a pretty good spread right there. Let's get a screenshot of that one. Normally, I wouldn't let the program run this long. I just want to get an interesting screenshot, frankly. Sorry, once I just got a notification. I just want to make sure it's nothing important. No, it's not. Yeah, most of them are kind of obviously veering towards 50-50. Just like tossing a coin. What do you remember doing on the TRS-80 mainly? I mean, I remember showing up to kindergarten, and I was the only kid who knew how to program in BASIC in kindergarten because I already had a TI-99 at home, and the version of BASIC was a little bit different. But I could basically write simple programs in BASIC even in kindergarten. In first grade, actually, the teacher let me sit in the back of the classroom, like one day a week, and one by one, I'd call students up to the back of the classroom and teach them how to use the Apple II computer. That was in first grade, circa 1984, give or take. Good times. Simpler times. Said every generation ever, right? Back in my day. Yeah, we really haven't got that interesting of a spread here yet. They're all, like a true outlier. 60-40, within a tolerance range here. Yeah, I do a lot of TI-99 content. It's something I've been meaning to do for a long time. And when I don't do retro stuff, I play a lot of World of Warcraft and stream World of Warcraft live on Twitch. And I'm also programming a retro-style game in Pico 8 right now. You can see some of those examples of those streams on my channel as well. Mainly TI-99 stuff, occasional retro gaming, retro programming, and a lot of World of Warcraft. You have two TRSs and use the poke instruction to inject assembler code. I wish I knew how to do that. I never really learned assembler code. I want to. It would take an extra amount of focus at this point in my life to learn it. So I just didn't do that when I was too young to have any interest in doing that back in the day. I was really little when it was using poke commands. I never really learned how to do it, and I never had an extended basic cartridge for the TI-99 4. I just had the console basic, which didn't have peek or poke commands. You had to have, I think, extended basic, or there was an assembler cartridge or an environment. I forget exactly what it was for the TI-99 4A, and I just never learned it. I want to. I know what it is. It's like when I don't do this, I teach logic at the community college level, so I definitely have the ability to do it. I just never focused on it. I would like to, though. That would be really cool. I would love to make my own. Frankly, just make my own like cartridge type games for the TI-99 4, even if they're just emulated versions. That would be really cool. For me, it'd be cool. But I'm making this cool retro style. I don't know if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan. I am not. I'm a little too old for Dragon Ball Z, but I have a good friend who is a Dragon Ball Z fan. And he had an idea for a retro 8-bit style Dragon Ball Z themed 2-player fighting game. So we've been working on programming that in the Lua programming language in Pico 8. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a virtual video game console. A lot of fun. It's by far the most complicated thing I've ever programmed, and it's come together really well. Really proud of it. So do check that out on my channel archive, and on my YouTube channel as well. You can find my YouTube channel under my name, Zachary Fruhling, or under the Twitch handle, Cozy Azeroth, if you want to see all the other things I do. But I'm really proud of that game. It's coming together really well, and I kind of wish it wasn't a Dragon Ball Z game, so we could actually sell it. It's so much fun. But as of right now, it's just a Dragon Ball Z fan project, which we're using as a test case for how to make games. Learning how to make games so we can make something more complicated that we can actually sell next time. Hang our shingle out. You gotta do that these days. You gotta be entrepreneurial, right? Well, there are quite a few 50-50s, interestingly enough. I mean, maybe it's not interesting, but the conspicuous number of actual 50-50s. I think the biggest spread I saw was 36 and 64. Maybe it was 31 and 69, I think. I'm trying to get one that's even more like into the 20s and 70s. That would be cool. Just because it would be weird. Yeah, I love retro programming. I've done so many other things, and I've been whole decades of not messing around with these old systems, so it's something maybe I'm just feeling particularly nostalgic right now, but I wanted to dive back into my favorite old computer system. So I have an original. I got it on the shelf back there. It's just so much easier to stream using an emulator. I'm not quite happy with the colors of the emulator. The emulator, it does a pretty good job of replicating the colors from the original system, but they're a little too vivid. Although the TI-99 4 was definitely a colorful computer system, and the emulator is pretty good, but I might have made slightly different choices. Like I think this version of the light green is just a little needs to be a little lighter, I think, in terms of how I remember it, but I didn't write the emulator, so. Yeah, TRS-80s. I went to the Vintage Computer Festival in Mountain View a couple months ago at the Computer History Museum, and that was fascinating. I've been wanting to go to the Vintage Computer Festival literally for years, and finally got around to going to it. And my girlfriend and I went. We had a great time, and the world of vintage computers is so much more diverse than even I realized. There were so many different kinds of computers that I maybe had an inkling of, but probably didn't have an inkling of. And it was fun to see working examples of all of them at the Vintage Computer Festival. And wish I had time to sit down and mess with all of them, but so much to learn. But for me, I always kind of veer right back to the TI. It's my favorite system. And it was cheap back in the day. You could get one of these for cheap. They started out kind of expensive, but Texas Instruments kept dropping the prices on them, hoping to make money on the software market, and then that didn't really work, and they spent a fortune making the computers, millions of them. So they're really cheap. You can find a good working one of these for 100, 150 bucks, not even probably. If you want a good condition one, 200 bucks, 250 bucks. If you want a working but cosmetically okay one, 75, 80, 90 bucks. They're pretty cheap. Great system. I don't know why I'm obsessed with trying to get a better spread of numbers. Maybe it's not going to happen. I don't have a ton of time to do this, so I may not get to the next video today. We got some company coming over. We're going to binge watch most of the third season of Star Trek Picard, which a friend of ours has not seen, and I've seen it. My girlfriend has seen it, but this friend has not, so we're going to binge it and eat snacks and drink beverages and have a nice mellow Saturday at home. And probably do a little World of Warcraft later, I think, maybe. Oh, you're from Mexico, very difficult find, have 2 TRS-80s, 1 Atari Lynx and Jaguar. Oh yeah, I never had either of those. I did have an Atari 2600 when I was, by the time I was born, the Atari 2600 was already out there on the market, and by the time I was old enough to play video games, every household on the block had an Atari 2600. I used to go to my aunt and uncle's house. They lived right next door, and they had an Atari, and then the next door neighbors had an Atari, and eventually we got an Atari, and but it was an Atari 2600 before the Lynx and the Jaguar. Yeah, TRS-80s. I would love to get one. I really want to get a Model 3 because that's the one I was familiar with from when I was in kindergarten. But they're so expensive, and I have as much fun with an emulator, but and I don't really have room for vintage computers very much. We do have a retro gaming station set up in the living room. We've got an Atari 2600, an original Nintendo NES, and one of these, a Texas Instruments TI-99 4A. All 3 of those hooked up to an old 13-inch CRT TV, and that's a lot of fun. So we have some retro game nights occasionally, and I've tried to get a video capture device to stream on original hardware and be able to stream the games onto Twitch from the original hardware, but I couldn't. I had in fact, I got it right here. I had this Elgato video capture device, and I could get the video working, but I could not for the life of me get the audio working. And apparently other people have had the same exact problem. It wasn't just me. Could not figure it out, so I finally gave up and said, screw it. If I do retro gaming right now and want to stream it, I'm just going to use emulators, and I will circle back and try to figure out a better video capture device at some point in the future when I have a little more money to throw at it, which I don't right now. Everything's so expensive these days. I don't know why I'm screenshotting this so much, but I just want to get an interesting one for the YouTube thumbnail mainly. And it's fun to chit-chat. You know what I'm going to do while this is running? I'm going to drop you a link to this book. I've got it pulled up right here, the archive.org version of the book. So here you go. This is the book I'm working from if you're curious. And here's a link to it on Amazon if you want the actual physical book. There are some great vintage programming books available on archive.org if you haven't gone browsing there. I highly recommend just type in TRS-80 or type in whatever system you're interested in. You'll find a bunch of old resources on programming for those old computers. I would like to get into more TRS-80 stuff. I have a fond memory of that. I just didn't spend as much time on it. Only time I really used it was in kindergarten, and then Apple IIs quickly became the norm. I remember on the TRS-80 I had, what I do remember is that they had these like screen overlays. We had a green translucent screen overlay you could put on. And I remember the computer in my kindergarten classroom did not have one. And I remember talking to the custodian who was in charge of such things as well, asking him if he could get a green screen for the TRS-80. And sure enough, he procured a green screen overlay and brought it to the kindergarten classroom and put it on the TRS-80, and that was nice of him. Yeah, probably thought I was a dorky little kid, but you know, he did procure me a green screen overlay for my TRS-80. I wonder if a lot of people still use those when people are using TRS-80s. And they had, I think, they had an amber screen overlay, amber colored one, and a green one. Maybe others, I don't know, but those were the two most common ones, I think. I wonder if anyone still thinks to use those. That was a big deal when I was a kid. Like, wow, it's green. That's so cool. Simpler times. Kind of fun to let this run so long, but I haven't experienced it. I haven't seen one that's in the 20s or 70s range here. I'm hoping to get at least one, but if not, I'll give up in the stream. But I'm going to let it run for a little bit and see how long it takes to get one in that range. Might be asking too much to get one in the 10s and 90s, or excuse me, 10s and 80s. But I'm ready to take a screenshot if it happens. Yeah, I used to love programming programs in BASIC. You know, the TI-99 4A had a cartridge system, so there was software you could buy on cartridges, but you could also, kind of like on the TRS-80, there were disk drives, of course, but we didn't have a disk drive, couldn't afford that. But we did have a cassette player, and we could hook the cassette player up and save and load programs in BASIC on cassette, and I used to do that all the time. In fact, my dad wrote me a video game when I was a kid called Shooting Star. I had it saved on a cassette, and sadly it's been lost. I had it for a long, long time, and I've tried and tried and tried to find it. It would be so cool if I could find that program and at least resurrect it from the ash heap of history, so to speak, and haven't been able to find it. And I've actually taken a stab at recreating it. I mean, it would be my own version, and of course I don't remember all the details of it, but it was basically a game where an asterisk would randomly be generated on one of the edges of the screen. It would move across the screen at random velocities and random angles, and you had to shoot the star with another asterisk. But what I forget is how it worked. Like, was there a little ship in the middle, or did it shoot from the bottom? I just don't remember at this point, frankly. And it's too bad, because it was a cool little program. I really enjoyed it. And my dad didn't even remember all the details before he passed away. That's too bad. So, but he just gave me a rough idea of how it worked, and I have taken my own stab at recreating it, and it works pretty well. It's not perfect, and I still want to work on it. But I like doing that kind of thing on these old systems. Yeah, it's funny because back in the day, there were, in California here, there were a lot of computers in the classroom, mainly because Apple was getting a tax break to donate computers to schools in California in particular. But teachers didn't really know what the heck to do with computers. They had all these computers, and the teachers were, either in their, late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, older sometimes, and teachers didn't know what the heck to do with these newfangled computers. And so they just kind of sat in the back of the classroom most of the time, and once in a while someone like me would know how to use them and whatnot, but teachers didn't really know how to incorporate them into the classroom. But I knew how to use them, so I spent a lot of time on computers in school because I was one of the few kids that was interested and knew how to use them. It's an impressive number of attempts that are, within the 40 and 50 range here. Occasionally get one in the 30 and 60, but I haven't seen a huge outlier yet. Almost conspicuously so. I wonder if there's some code to prevent it. It might be that it's still a pseudo-random number, so it could be that it keeps it within it's random but keeps it within a certain range. It really could be. I don't know for sure. Someone probably knows. It's not me. Because they're all pseudo-random, so. But I am genuinely surprised. In theory, each attempt is a new roll of the dice, so to speak, new flip of the coin. So you could get all of 100 and 0. I think I would at least get one like 80 and 20 at some point, but it has not happened. It would actually be interesting to write a version of this program, let it run all day, all night, whatever, and just keep track of how many you get that are less than a certain value or greater than a certain value. See if you get any at all in the long run. You should, in theory, but again, I don't really know how this random number generator works, and maybe it's designed to prevent that. That's one of the bigger spreads we've seen there, into the 30s and 60s. On the money, 50-50. $36 and 64. Getting there. So what do you do on your TRS-80s if you're still watching? How do you actively use them, or are they just sitting on a shelf? Do you mess around with them? And what did you use them for back in the day? You said you programmed on them. What did you like? Was game programming, or what did you do? I like hearing people's stories about how they used old computers. Sometimes when people talk about old technology in hindsight, sometimes they tend to leave out some of the details or gloss over some of the ways people actually use computers. So I like uncovering how people actually used computers back in the day. Like one thing my dad did on the TI-99, he wrote a program for training electrical technicians at the job where he worked, and he wrote a program with a bunch of electrical formulas help train new electrical technicians. So that was a fun, practical, actual industry practical use of this computer in circa, early 1980s. I have the cassette of that one actually. So I have, in fact, you can find it on my YouTube channel. I did a video of that specific program in an emulator, but I still have the cassette with that original program in it. I had more, I just can't find them. I don't know what happened. Got moved so many times. I think they're probably still buried in storage, but you never know. Sometimes things accidentally get thrown out. Yeah, it's great because it's much slower than the TRS-80. The TRS-80 Basic is way faster than TI is, and I don't know if that was a conscious decision or if that's a matter of how they architected it. I don't know the reasons behind it, but the TI-99 runs much slower. So for some types of games, that's really good because it makes certain things easier, and other types of games, action type games, that's really bad. Oh, I still love programming in BASIC. Yeah. I mean, I've picked up modern programming languages. I can program in Python. I'm using Lua for this game I'm working on. I picked up some JavaScript, and of course, I know HTML, and I've done a little bit of what I would call XML programming when I worked at in educational technology. I used to write and program online learning materials in long form XML, where it was kind of like laying out the page similar to HTML, but we would use variables, kind of like programming to randomize the content. And really, the reason I got that job is because I knew what variables were, and I knew how to program a little bit, and I knew how to do HTML. And man, my simple experience with these computer systems when I was young has actually paid off greatly later in life. So thank you to the people that made these computers and made them fun for a little kid like me to mess around with. It actually helped out my career in a number of ways. So, yeah, if you want to see it, let me get a link to it. Give me one moment. I'm gonna hit the be right back button real quick. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna go to. I gotta find where it is here. Yeah, here you go. Okay. For example, the ESP32 microcontroller has a basic interpreter. Yeah. Here, if you want to mess around with the TI-99 4A emulator, this is an emulator. You can just follow those directions. It's easy. It's got a manual, and you can figure out how to use it. And also on archive.org. Let me find the book. This is the book. I'll find the book that came with the TI-99 4A for you. It's a great system. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's really a lot of fun. I know it's on here. Oh. Let me find it. If not, I'll find a way to get it to you here. I know that I'm pretty sure there's a PDF of it on here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to be right back button again. Let me find it here. Ah, there it is. Okay, I found it. Okay, on archive.org, we've got Beginner's Basic. This is the manual that came with the TI-99 4A. And I think there was also this user's reference guide that had a complete account of the, yeah, here it is right here. Let me put this in the chat as well. This book has a complete overview of all the commands in TI Basic. So there you go. That's everything you need. Download that emulator, read through the instructions of what to do and how to get into BASIC, and then dive into that blue covered book, the Beginner's Basic book, and you can get the experience of what it was like to mess around with a TI-99 4A. I would say it's on the whole, it's a lot more user friendly than a TRS-80. It's more colorful, it's more interesting. The manuals that came with the TI-99 are amazing. To this day, I think they're still some of the best programming introductions to programming concepts that you'll find. And it's a colorful system, so you really can't go wrong. I do hope you download that emulator and download those 2 books and give it a go. And if you do, let me know. I really want to know how it goes and what you think of the system as a whole. Just download that book and start start typing away and get to know the peculiarities of TI Basic. It's a very peculiar version of Basic. It's got a lot of subtle differences from the TRS-80 Basic. But you'll pick it right up, of course, if once you know any version of Basic. The rest aren't too bad. There's also an extended Basic cartridge, and this, if you look here, this emulator emulates cartridges. And there's an extended version of Basic that adds a lot of functionality, sprites and peek and poke and a bunch of other stuff that the built-in version of Basic doesn't have on the TI. But a lot of that stuff is available in the extended Basic cartridge. So once that came out, a lot of game developers used extended Basic, and it runs a little bit faster than the console Basic as well. But you can see, I'm tempted to take a minute and show you a cartridge or two on here. In fact, I think I will. This is getting a little boring. Let me, not our conversation, but this, this program we have loaded up here. Let me reset the system here. So here's the introduction screen to the TI-99 4A. You basically press 1 to get into TI Basic. That's all you do to get into TI Basic on the TI-99. It's that simple. That's simple in the original hardware, and it's that simple in the emulator. But I'm going to load up a cartridge for you here. Like, what's a fun one? Let me see here. Cartridge. There's one that I used to like in particular. I want to see if I can find it here. Zero Zap. Here we go. So you can see, so compare what you just saw in Basic. And there's, the Basic can do a lot more than that little program, of course. But here is an example of how much better the cartridges run. Gotta remember how to shoot here. Uh-oh. I forget. 1 second here. Let me reset this. Reset. I forget the controls. I'm using the emulator. I'm not using the original hardware, so I gotta remember how to... Okay, shoot. Oh, shoot the arrow upward. Okay, got it. Let me get into the game here. So there are a lot of really great cartridges for this system. And they were easier to load because they were just plug and play. They weren't as complicated as loading things from a disk. So there were these kind of faster paced, games in cartridge form, and just not in Basic. Of course, these were all created in assembler language. But the TI Basic is painfully slow, and the frustrating thing is that the hardware itself is quite capable. It's just it's this highly interpreted Basic that runs really slowly. Anyways, you get the idea. Let's see what another cartridge I can show you here. Well, if you haven't seen this in action very much. Games, I don't know, about Alpiner. This was a game I used to like. Also, there were great sound capabilities as well in the TI-99, along with speech synthesis. So we're basically going to climb a mountain and objects are going to fall at us here. We're climbing. There's obstacles. Like this skunk will spray us. Uh-oh, gotta not get hit by the... There we go, so you gotta avoid that. Rocks fall at us. Fire. And there we go. Yeah, it's so much fun. And the nice thing about these is they're all in cartridge form, and you can find the emulator itself comes preloaded with a selection of cartridges. And if you just Google, where can I find TI-99 4A ROMs, you can find ROMs for most of the cartridges that were ever made. And I've got a bunch on here. I don't know, here's TI Invaders. This is like a Space Invaders clone. I'll show you that as well. Yeah, so a lot of this is going to look really familiar. Of course, there are a lot of clones of these well-known games. But you can see how smoothly it runs. I mean, look how smooth it is. It's really, the system itself is quite powerful. It's just that BASIC runs painfully slow even compared to the TRS-80 BASIC. It was actually really fast. I remember that being really fast. So yeah, do give that emulator a go. A big fan of it. Save those links. And do let me know if you give it a try. I would love to hear your thoughts on it compared to the TRS-80. And try all the cartridges, but try just getting to know the version of BASIC that's in a TI-99. I think it was more fun. It was more fun to make programs on the TI-99 for me than the TRS-80. Even though they ran more slowly, they were more colorful, and I think the slowness actually lent itself to certain kinds of games. But it is a shame that the console itself runs so well. The assembler code runs pretty fast. It's just that the way they handled BASIC is just, wackadoodle compared to other systems that ran BASIC. Well, I might actually get this one. What? Ooh, this is difficult though. They come at you. Ah, come on. Really? There we go. Got it. I think my reputation as a 1980s gamer is on the line here. I hadn't planned to play some of these cartridge games, but it's fun to just take a little detour from all the retro programming I've been doing. Yeah, I think this is even better than Space Invaders, really. Except I suck at it right now. It adds a lot of nuance to the game that the Atari version of this does not have. Anyway, so that's TI Invaders. Let's see what else we got here. Games. Yep. Car Wars. This is a fun game. I used to play the heck out of this one. I was never very good at it. I don't know if it's possible to be good at this game. Okay, let's go fast. So I'm the red car. And this is actually not the fastest. Oopsie. Not the fastest this game goes. I'll show you the fastest version here in a minute so you can get some sense of the kinds of things you can do on this system. I made the same mistake twice in a row. I suck. I'm untrainable. Okay. Uh-oh. Yeah. That's right. Let's reset. I forget how to... the keys on the emulator are different than the keys on the actual system. So, pressing the key to begin. Let's do fly in and look out. You can see why it's impossible to be good at this game. Yeah, they just... So you can see the system itself was pretty fast. Anyways, that's a game called Car Wars, quite popular in the system. While we're just previewing cartridges, I played this video chess game quite a bit. Just a chess program, but that's just the intro screen. So you can see it's a colorful, fun system. It really is. Beginner game, sure. Okay, so I'm black, I guess. So let's see. How about D7 to D5? D7 to D5. Yeah, maybe. I think it was. That could be. That could be. This is actually. It's got different difficulty levels, so I don't know the first thing about chess algorithms really, other than in principle, but it's got different versions of the algorithm here for different difficulty levels at least. So this is a fun program. There's a lot though, I don't have time to show you the whole gamut here, but even stuff like this. Here's one called Music Maker. It's not really a game. It's more like teach you a little bit about music. Traditional mode, sharps 0, flat 0, time signature 4/4, that works. Sure. But you come over here and you can grab a note. I forget how it works though. Yep, you grab a note and you can place it somehow. I forget how to do that. Uh-oh. Space. I'm hitting the keys. I don't remember how to use this. I don't have the manual and I don't... Oh, there we go. So you basically compose your own music. I mean, there's cool stuff you could do on the TI-99. It was colorful and interesting, and then I forget how to play it. How do you do that? I forget. Come over here and hit play. Nope. 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 I don't remember. Sorry, I don't remember. I haven't used this cartridge since I was a kid. I haven't even tried it on the emulator. Yeah. Anyways, you get the idea, though. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do on this system. Well, my friend, I'm going to call this stream an end for the moment. I'm going to get this program uploaded or this video uploaded to YouTube and take a little break. We've got some company coming over. I may or may not be back briefly if I have some time before we start watching the TV show we're going to watch here in a little bit. And do another of those type-in programs. But I hope you really do check out the rest of my my YouTube channel. In fact, I'll drop a link right now so you have it. Give me a second. I have to be right back, but let me just grab my YouTube channel for you. One moment. Give me 1 second to get there. Okay. Here is the link to my YouTube channel. So thanks for following me on Twitch, and do check out the YouTube channel. You can see under videos here, I'm doing a ton of TI-99 4A content, a lot of just stuff in BASIC right now, but you'll find other stuff on my YouTube channel. Play some World of Warcraft, and I've got some retro programming that I'm doing right here. You can see one of my old retro programming videos in Pico 8. So I'm doing all kinds of things, dabbling here and dabbling there. But I really do hope you download that Classic 99 emulator, and hope you take a look at those books that came with the TI-99 4A and give it a go. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll find it's a lot more, frankly, fun to use than a TRS-80. The version of BASIC is a little slower, but it adds some features like sound and graphics that the TRS-80 doesn't really have, or not as robustly anyway. And yeah, give it a go. Let me know how it goes. But I'm going to call the stream an end right now and move on to other things. I may be back a little later. I may be back with some World of Warcraft streaming tonight, but I have a day at home tomorrow, so I'll probably do some more retro streaming tomorrow. And then I'm trying to work through, at least right now, I'm working through all 101 programs in this book. I've been looking at 101 programming tips and tricks for the Texas Instruments TI-99 4A. So I'm doing that periodically, starting and stopping this stream on Twitch so I can have separate videos for every program. But I've got a long list of TI-99 4A content I want to do and various other kinds of retro content I want to do. So stay tuned, and it's nice to meet you. In any case, my name is Zachary, and thanks for the enthusiasm. Thanks for all the chatting in the during the stream. It's been a lot of fun. And if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, be sure to check out the rest of my YouTube channel. You can find it under my name, Zachary Fruhling, or under Cozy Azeroth, for lots of TI-99 4A content, retro programming, retro gaming, lots of World of Warcraft live streaming, and miscellaneous educational videos on a wide variety of topics of interest to me, both professionally and personally. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check out my Twitch channel under Cozy Azeroth for live streaming and all the above, and you can participate in the chat just as LMS Merguia, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, has been participating during this stream. And in any case, I appreciate likes and follows and subscriptions, especially subscriptions, which help me out greatly in these challenging and troubling financial times. In the meantime, thank you for watching this video, and I will be back soon with the next video in this series, the next program, which is number 63, random numbers 0 to 9. So we'll hit that on the next video. Yes, likewise. It was nice to meet you as well, Eduardo. Very nice to meet you, and I hope to chat with you again. Be sure to, don't be afraid to say hi. Say hi anytime you catch me streaming on any topic. It'll be nice to chit-chat. Very nice to meet you. I wish you well and hope you have a good day and a rest of your weekend over there down in Mexico. Have a good afternoon.